Hola, cage fighting connoisseurs. This is KidNativeBloodyElbow.com. Joined once again by Eugene S. Robinson, author of Fight, Everything You Ever Want to Know About Getting Your Ass Kicked or something.
No!
Yeah. But I got to hand it over to Alexiol because it's a very special episode of If I Did It, where we answer we provide unsolicited PR advice to figures in mixed martial arts and the world of business and politics. Alexi, take it away.
So the first thing to go to Eugene before you're being introduced, what makes you so special in terms of the advice to give regarding PR and media professionals? Can you?
No, this is the time you just go clang, 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 recite your resume. That's the idea for the segment. So recite your resume, Eugene. Why should you give PR advice?
Well, this sets me up nicely for why I think I should be MMA Journalist of the Year. Who was the first one to write about MMA for a national publication? Me. That's who.
And what was the national publication?
GQ magazine.
Yeah. Hence the GQ outfit you're wearing right now.
We'd only seen 3 UFCs, and they had a special martial arts issue, and I did a whole 2 pages on what was called NHB at that time, No Holds Barred. So you want to check it out? Sean Penn was on the cover of that one, whatever year that was. I believe it was like 93 or 94. And
is that the hand in the face era, Sean Penn? Or?
Yeah. Tie Madonna to a chair and beat her up, Sean Penn. It was.
Oh man, it's a rough.
The one trying to hang out with Henry Rollins backstage. That Sean Penn. Okay. So all of those things. So and then from there to Grappling Magazine, as well as the early stage for Vice, fighting professionals and writing about it, and then from there to cover story for the LA Weekly. On MMA, and then from there to the Fight Book, and then from there HarperCollins, the biggest publisher in the world, as well as amassing a mighty 9-2 MMA record.
Whoa! There you go. And for me,
SF Fight Club.
SF Fight Club. I am a public affairs and political professional with over 20 years' experience in the field, including corporate communications experience working for Firestone, Monsanto, Southwestern Bell, now AT&T, Southwest Airlines, and a number of Fortune 500 companies handling crisis communications, and working for politicians, including John Kerry, Mark Warner, working with Howard Dean, and MoveOn.org, and doing both political campaigns and online activism, and I helped bring down Tom DeLay. So that's my CV.
Good.
Now,
well, speaking of which, Nick Diaz is going to need your help. This episode, If I Did It, 5-year ban for marijuana usage. What can this guy do from here? Regardless of whether or not it's fair or not, the fact is we're here. Nick Diaz is here. 5-year suspension from fighting in the state of Nevada, which other states recognize. If you're Nick Diaz, what do you do, Eugene?
I think Nick Diaz is fucking doing it, man. I'm pretty sure he's doing it. I mean, it's the groundswell of support because I mean, listen, make no mistake. The reason this is happening to Nick Diaz is not because of substance at hand. This is happening to Nick Diaz for Stalin reasons. You remember at one point Stalin was doing a show trial. Said, I want a confession out of this guy. You go get it. And this guy was a real hard case. He couldn't get the confession. And finally, Stalin said to the torturers, how much does Russia weigh? And they're like, well, what do you mean? And he goes, how? And so the guys go off to try to figure out how much Russia weighs. Come back, and they go, we're sorry, we don't know. He goes, let me put it this way. Does Russia weigh more than him? They say, yes, Russia weighs more than that guy. Get that confession. It's the same way. The NAC weighs more than Nick Diaz. That's what they're trying to say. When Nick Diaz is like, yeah, fuck that. I'll never stop smoking weed. I got a California cannabis card. Fuck you guys. The Stockton thing wasn't playing well. I think they're trying to send a message. Unfortunately, these guys are terribly, terribly tone deaf, and this is not going to work well for them. They're going to walk back from this, and it's not going to be a proud walk.
Yeah, I can't argue there. That they are the reason they're doing this, and now we're switching away from what Nick should do to what Nevada should do. But let me quickly say what Nick is doing, which is making his case. A, marijuana is not a performance-enhancing drug. He never used steroids. You've got dozens of guys who get caught repeatedly with steroids and get slaps on the wrist and get very deferential treatment from the commission. Like Chael Sonnen coming up there on not his first bust. And they're treating him like, Chael, how can you advise us on handling these matters and everything? And it wasn't until he was caught red-handed lying about that specific incident that they basically just wrote him off and banned him for life, effectively. But Nick has been a thorn in the side, a burr in the saddle. This guy has, they gave him chances, and he kept failing tests badly and flagrantly. And so they're reacting as he's defied their authority. They're not looking at this as, is the drug he's accused of taking worse than the drug other people are taking? They're looking at, is this fuck up willing to work with us or not? And he's not. That's what this is really about. And it's just
but he's not from the cover of, I've got a California cannabis club. It's a state versus federal issue. Fucking deal with it legally. If I get stopped by a cop in California, I don't have any problems. I got a card, So what does the athletic commission talk about? It's not even like with who was that redheaded kid who got caught with the oxy in his system? The guy from the show whose father abandoned him. I love that guy.
Chris Lieben?
Chris Lieben. It's not like Chris Lieben who was like fighting on oxy, which kind of deadens your response to pain. This is like weed, and it wasn't even like day of. The metabolites for weed stay in your system for a long time.
Well, some of the tests seem to indicate that he did get high right after the event. Like
after the event.
Yeah, but but that's the thing. What? I mean, it was one of those things where he should have been able to pass the test, and he didn't.
But the fact of the matter is, we're here now. I mean, he has this suspension. What is he? I think what the commission does might be reactionary to what he does. But what are you going to say, Eugene?
I'm saying a 5-year suspension effectively ends his career.
Right.
This is a death sentence for him.
So what they're saying is that smoking weed is worth your career, and that's crazy.
But so what should he do about it? I mean, you say that he's. What specific steps?
His attorney is appealing. There's a groundswell of grassroots support for his deal. It's I think he can comfortably, maybe not so comfortably, but he can sit back a little bit and let the jungle speak, as the jungle is choosing to speak right now.
I think Eugene's right. Like what Diaz has done has been pretty effective so far. He took the fifth during the hearing, so that's not ideal, but that's okay. Then after the hearing, he immediately did a video with Brett Okamoto of ESPN,
which was genius.
Which was brilliant. Came out, was very honest, said like, look, this is bullshit. Turned the tables, said I'm the only guy in the UFC that hasn't done steroids, and I'm the guy they're going after. Very sympathetic. Did another interview. And his
I didn't hear that one.
Yeah, it's on the cover of Bloody Elbow and right now. And
ooh, I like it. I like it. Oh, man, that was woo! All right.
Yeah. So anyway, So he's revealing this is a person. He's dealing with real issues. This is a medicine he's taking to try to deal with those issues. The medical science would give him a panoply of psychoactive drugs. He'd rather.
I'm sorry, panoply.
Panoply. Thank you, Mr. Stanford. I didn't mention I went to State College.
Once again.
Hey! You.
But, so, I think Diaz is doing all the right things. He's screwed at this point, but he's doing what he can. I think the appeal that his lawyer is filing is probably the most dead-end road of all of those. It's going to be public pressure.
I don't think so. What do you think?
When has an appeal to the NAC ever worked?
But at least it's one piece. It's one piece of the puzzle. I mean, at the end of the day,
yeah, it's something he has to do. But I think it's the least effective of the channels.
Not with this wind. I think he's doing all right. My question is, what do you think the bald one is doing now?
I think the Baldwin's biting his fingernails right now. This is a lose-lose for the UFC because they are held liable for the decisions of the NAC, and yet they have no or limited control over the NAC. So they can't get in there and tell the NAC what to do, but they are then blamed for the decisions the UFC makes. Like in the casual fans I was watching talk about this online, and people I talked to, they were like, why the fuck is the UFC doing this? And it's like, I was like, this isn't the UFC. Well, I don't care. This is the UFC. The takeaway is the UFC is being blamed for this.
And it is that balance also in the sense that if you are Dana White, you have to balance the interest of Nick Diaz and what he represents versus the NAC, which, you're regularly going to be in business more frequently with Nevada than you are Nick Diaz.
And plus, Nick Diaz is pretty much a shot.
Still, but how many guys? I mean, how many guys have already been popped for weed? So does that mean the water has to rise for all boats?
Well, maybe an option for Dana White is to utilize surrogates or behind the scenes, like have communications or relationships. I mean, again, you guys come from the PR world, like you know, to have some kind of relationship or off-camera discussion with them in terms of what the impact is going to be going forward. Because, like you said, Eugene, this is not going to be the last time this is going to happen.
Well, what I'm concerned about more, it's like you've seen in criminal cases where there starts to be an accretion of criminal behavior, and you start to say, like, somebody is clearly out of control. I mean, the entire UFC has, so the entire UFC has kind of slipped into, I mean, it's not, we're not talking about a corporation that's in control at this point. It doesn't seem to be. From the Reebok, kerfuffle to the, I mean, there's just been a lot of freaking stumbles, man. Way too many stumbles for a corporation that's supposed to have its shit together. I mean, how did they not see this coming? Did they not see this coming? These guys don't talk to each other. They're not having drinks. They're not passing each other in the casino. They didn't see this coming. Nobody gave a heads up. Come on.
I mean, their attitude.
How are you going to be caught flat-footed with something like this?
Well, Dana White's attitude has always been, look, I don't care about the rights and wrongs of marijuana. This is not it's not on us to decide. The reality is this is a banned substance. We don't get to decide what the banned substances are. We get to follow the rules. You're a fighter in this organization. You get to follow the rules. Follow the fucking rules. That's been Dana White's statement, is follow the rules. Nick Diaz has had plenty of chances. He's been failing drug tests for marijuana since 2007. They've bent over backwards to make this as easy as possible for him to pass the drug test.
They still have never acknowledged his California Cannabis Club card.
It's the federal, the WADA, the drug testing rules make no allowance for that. He hasn't followed the right protocol to file for a therapeutic use exemption for it, which I don't think they would allow anyway, since it's still a Schedule I substance under federal law. The reality is this is a shifting social stand.
Okay, the state of Nevada. What is the ruling in the state of Nevada on marijuana usage and possession?
I believe Nevada has medicinal marijuana.
So if Nevada has medicinal marijuana, okay, so we're talking state of California. If it's a states' rights issue, the Nevada Athletic Commission it holds sway where?
Well, that's the thing, and a lot of they're looked at, I guess, as a standard, throughout the country. But here's the thing: let's go back to the point of Nick Diaz. The fact of the matter is, he's here now. Part of it is his lawyer's appealing. You have a situation where he's done the interview, so he has a good thing on the PR front. In terms of a fighting perspective, should he push to be able to get a fight overseas? Should he push to get fights in other jurisdictions? Should he push for a release? On the fighting end, as a fighter, since at the end of the day, that is his bread and butter.
I think this is probably the most interesting series of developments for him. I think he's a fighter largely for the same reason a lot of us like to fight, because we have a anti-authoritarian streak and don't like to be told what the fuck to do. So I mean, he could fight in the cage or entertain himself by now making public spectacle of the UFC and the NAC. They've got this petition going to the White House. Well, if they get enough signatures, of which they have 9, I think that as a cause celeb, that this would be a nice way to enter. He can still train. He can still do jiu-jitsu competitions. I'm sure his school out in Tracy or Stockton is, he's there every day and taking care of business. I mean, this is, the question is money, and if he had seminars 360 days a year, he'd be fine. He'd be perfectly.
So don't push the whole fighting. What about you, Nate? Do you think?
I agree. That would be stupid. That would water down. That would take away his moral credibility if he starts evading the rules and breaking the rules. Right. That makes him look like Vitor Belfort, who's the last guy that I can think of off the top of my head who defied a Nevada suspension and went and fought in the UK.
And besides which, at that point, people go, "What's he whining about? He can fight. He's got a career. He can make money. I mean, no, it's got to be, what is that Eldridge Cleaver book, Soul on Ice. He's got to on ice, because the reality of it is he wasn't scheduled to fight anyway. There wasn't anybody he wanted to fight. He was making noises about retiring. I mean, if you'd be incorrect if you said that you thought he had much interest in it after the GSP.
Right.
Yeah, and then
this is interesting.
Yes, and so let's get to the NAC. Ask us a question about the NAC.
So if you're the NAC, what do you do with regard to the blowback? But you see the situation. These guys you just wait and see what happens, and then let's say there is a situation where it becomes at what stage do you reversed or altered the course? What has to happen if you're the NAC for you to change your position or take a different stance?
Do you ever read that play Emperor Jones? They made it into a movie with Paul Robeson playing Emperor Jones. You know, this was a template for fucking banana republics and dictators from way back when. They never see it coming. It's a killing myopia. They never see it coming. I am shocked that they would be shocked today. You know, I'm surprised that in that meeting nobody said, you know, there's going to be a little bit of blowback from this. You know, this is going to be highly unpopular. You know,
because tensions are high, to a certain degree. Like
what's that?
Well, the tensions are high. The egos are on the table. It becomes
and that's where you die. Like Carl Gotch used to say, "Bulls die on the floor." This is where they die. This is just where, I mean, nobody's thinking about finesse. Nobody's thinking about compromise. You know, cooperation or cooperation, as they use here in the disgusting valley. I mean, you got, realistically speaking, you got to work with Nick Diaz, because Nick Diaz is not just Nick Diaz. Nick Diaz represents a distinct genus of the fighter class that you're gonna have to work with. You know, I mean,
so you have a huge chunk of the generation of fans that are watching the fights now, and that's where I think we're having the problem. You've got a bunch of Gen Xers sitting behind the chairs making these decisions on the commission. These guys are rule followers. That's how they got on a commission like this. Their entire lives they've been hearing, don't do drugs, drugs are bad, you know, dare to be free of drugs, drugs are bad,
okay.
This is your brain or drugs are bad, okay. And they've always followed that, yes sir, and those fucking hippies are bad, and we hate them, and they're bad, and they're losers. And now you've got this generation of millennials coming up under you that overwhelmingly supports the legalization of pot. The reality was most Gen Xers were smoking pot the whole time, or a good chunk of them. Yep. But we were all agreeing, well, you know, we're not going to fight the hippie fight. We don't want any wood shampoo.
Okay. We're gonna make our home with hypocrisy.
But also you're making history here, because are you actually in the corner of millennials?
Me?
Yes.
Well, I'm just saying it's a reality you have to deal with, as much as I hate to.
You have an opportunity to bridge the gap to, you know.
No. I mean, it's always amusing for me. What is that noise?
Now we got a power drill. Can you mute Alexia? I think that's They're working on this nursery. So you talk.
No. I mean, so this. Thank you, God. That was killer, man. No. I mean, this is the thing that I'm not understanding. These people who are hopelessly out of step with time. I mean, how do you make your peace? How do you that aggressively be out of step with time? And I'm thinking specifically of a Kim Davis. I mean, I think Kim Davis, the Kentucky commissioner, who's refusing to grant same-sex marriages. How can you see that the waves not in front of you, the waves are behind you?
She's shrewdly realizing that by being the last standing martyr, she's set for life now. She's on the speaking circuit. The money's pouring in. I think it's a cynical ploy on her part to grab this spotlight and be the last of the dead enders.
I tell you, but my temptation is to believe that it's not cynical opportunism, you know, which is the playground of the ploy, but rather that it's true belief, and that I find it more disturbing.
More disturbing is that the guy true belief on the commission, except they believe in their authority. They've never really thought through the question. I mean, look at Nevada. Nevada voted in 2000 to legalize pot, at least medicinally. It only became available this year. So Nevada is very much a state, like most of the states in the far west, where there's a small population that tries to occasionally have some input on how things are run, but things are run by big companies and by the federal government. And so they've ignored the will of the people on marijuana for 15 years in that state, and like the commissioners think they can continue to do that. We'll see. They don't seem to enjoy public pressure, so we'll see how sustained.
Oh, really? Now when you have people, with the petition to D.C., people saying, well, fuck this, we're not going to buy any more tickets, we're not going to go. I mean, these are delicate times, because if you don't think, like the case I make on Knuckle Up, if you don't think there's going to be any bleed from this Mayweather Birdo thing, if my neighbor is cooking dog shit, I might not be hungry. I might not be hungry specifically for dog shit, but I might not be hungry for anything,
Well, they're in a position with Mayweather where A, they're sick of serving it up, and B, he's going to leave them. It's like the Woody Allen joke about the food's terrible in such small portions. Like, oh my God, Mayweather sucks, and he's leaving us, so they're nervous about that.
So, but I'm saying there's bleed. So if I'm having
betting against stoned hippies and kids, ability to mount a sustained campaign of any kind has always been a solid bet. Like, what was that?
Well, when you're talking about,
always your mic or something is fucked.
It's just yeah. Well, here's the curveball.
Okay, curveball.
Roger Goodell, you're commissioner of the NFL.
Yep.
You tried to deal with Spygate with the New England Patriots. You bungled that because Robert Kraft allegedly was your sponsor. He's one of your bosses as the owner, as an owner of the league, because that's who you answer to. You have a situation with Deflategate in which you try to boost yourself back up in the eyes of the owners and the eyes of NFL fans outside of the New England franchise.
So you're saying they came down hard on Deflategate because they were too easy
to make up for Spygate. You bungle that, and now in the season opener, Pittsburgh Steelers versus New England Patriots in Foxborough, Pittsburgh Steelers after the game said during the first half they couldn't hear anything in their headsets other than New England Patriots radio. And the Patriots say, "Oh, we don't know nothing about this. We also heard radio too." Days later, other coaches come out and say, "Yes, for years we've had this problem. Once again, New England Patriots, you're Goodell. You have to handle this situation. How do you handle the fact that your winningest franchise, once again, is shoving it in your face?"
Yeah. Well, the problem is Goodell made a fatal error. He thought the judge and the jury was going to be in the court of public opinion, and really what he needed to do was cut a backroom deal and go to the Patriots, go to Brady, and go, "You fucked up. We caught you. Things are going to get bad. We're going to fuck you up. What are you going to offer?" And this is a negotiation. At that point, Brady and the Patriots go, "Okay, tell you what, we'll give you this. How about that?" And they say, "No, we don't want that. We want a little bit more." And you come to a negotiation. Okay, we won't accuse you, but you. And then they can come out and have a press conference, and it's all taken care of. You don't throw it in the court of public. The public opinion is fickle, as Nate just said. What are these guys going to back you? And next week they'll be thinking about Britney Spears' tits. They don't care. They don't fuck care. So, I mean, Goodell is now, like General George Custer is looking over his shoulder. There's nobody. 10,000 Indians, nobody. So I think at this point now, for him to go back to the Patriots and to go back to Brady and say, okay, let's cut a deal. Brady is pulling a Michael Corleone. Hey, you know what? My final offer is this: nothing. That's what you will give us. You will suck it up and maybe step off the job. I mean, Goodell was praised as a genius for years, and now this, sometimes it ends this fast, but not for commissions, not for collections. Collections last a lot longer. Coalitions last a lot longer than individual power centers.
Yeah, I think Goodell needs to resign. I think he's at the point where he has become a lightning rod.
I think he should threaten to resign, because then people know he's not fucking around. They're like, oh my God, who's going to take a job after him? And then they want to play ball. Again, behind the scenes negotiation. You know what, you guys, I'm going to fall on my sword. I'm going to resign. And then they go, oh shit, we don't have anybody else. No, we got to keep Goodell in there. We can't let him go. As long as he resists, they'll be after him. When he submits, then they start to deal. Behind the scenes.
So here's the thing: when you're talking about falling on the sword, and there seems to be a split between you guys into whether or not Goodell is in the Lost Battalion yet. It's Eugene.
No, he should say he's going to fall.
If you could introduce for those folks who don't know about the Lost Battalion, what is this whole Lost Battalion concept? Who's in it? Junior Dos Santos is still the Lost Battalion. Platoon leader, And what is that? What is this Lost Battalion? For those who don't know,
it's when you think you're alive, but you're dead. Yeah. Did you see the looks on everybody's face after the last time he fought Cain Velasquez, when he was like, when we rematch, and everybody around him was doing like this. Yeah. Man didn't know he was fucking dead. Dead man walking. Did not have any idea he was no longer ambulatory.
Is Misha Tate in it?
Misha Tate, because of the paucity, the lack of depth in that bantamweight division, and this whole Brian Caraway weirdness, and then her bikini shots that she no longer sends me because I defriended her. I think she's still in it, but just barely. But Junior Dos Santos is still a platoon leader. Nobody is I would say there are other guys there. Eric Silva is there. I'd say he's there. You know.
Nick Diaz is there.
Nah. Nick Diaz has no interest really in fighting. So it's like
he's still there.
You can't tell me I'm dead. I'm telling you I'm dead. It's a different thing.
Maybe it's Commander Kurtz in the force. What about in the world of politics? Is Rick Perry Lost Battalion? I mean, this
of course,
absolutely. He's been Lost Battalion. He admitted it. He's not Lost Battalion anymore because now he admitted he's.
Yeah. He embraced it.
So you have to be aware of it. You don't think he's thinking I can do it again? This is
he's thinking he might get a cabinet position in the Bush administration. That's his.
Yeah. He knows he's dead.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, it's a quality of self-awareness. You know, I mean, we've all encountered those guys. Those guys who are like, yeah, man, I'm gonna make a come. You ever see that movie Crossover Dreams with Ruben Blades?
Oh yeah.
After the rise and the fall, he's at his local bar, and the bartender's like, yeah, what are you gonna do next, man? And he goes, I think I'm gonna go on tour, and the bartender looks at him and says, you know where you're gonna go tour? You're going to go tour my ass. That's where you're going to go tour.
Indeed.
Somebody's got to tell those Lost Battalion guys that they're Lost Battalion. That's never a happy place to be.
It's usually the funders, and I'll tell you who's the Lost Battalion right now. Bobby Jindal, Scott Walker, those cats at the bottom, 1 or 2% of the Republican primary, and there's too many of them to even list. The question is whether or not Jeb Bush is Lost Battalion or not. That is the question.
I think Trump has so thoroughly got his fucking number. And the stumbles on top.
But Ben Carson's coming up on Trump now.
Yeah, Ben Carson's coming up on Trump, but you know what? I mean,
he's Herman Cain Mark II. That's what he is.
Thank you.
So is there anything that they could do? Like, if you are one of those people that you named, is there anything you can do?
No.
Once you're in the Lost Battalion, you're dead. You can't do anything when you're dead.
Unless you're Jesus Christ, you're not coming back from this.
You can acknowledge that you're dead. That's all you can do.
But if you're close to the Lost Battalion amongst those, you're not in that yet. You have a foot close, like foot in the grave, a foot towards Lost Battalion. What can they do? Or is it just
no? It's pretty. It's pretty.
Are the rest of them done?
It's pretty binary. You're either in Lost Battalion or you're not in the Lost Battalion. There's no, almost. I mean, as long as what is that thing from the Archie and the Hitterbell, great thing from the 20s? There's dance in the old dame yet. There's dance in the old dame yet. If you still got to play, but there wasn't a single person who was watching Junior Dos Santos talk. Nobody in Brazil who was like, oh yeah, he's still got it. Everybody was like, nah, sorry, man. I mean, that's the way it goes, and if you've never been in that position, let me tell you, it's fucking terrible. I've been in that position at one point over some woman, and she's like, oh, my buddy's going, what are you so excited about? I'm not going to mention her name. Go, oh, she's coming back. She's going to be in town this week. I think this could be it. And I was at practice talking about, yeah, exactly. I was at practice talking about it, and off to my back and to my rear, my bass player said very quietly, it's like this great story by Lord Dunsany, the ominous cough. He goes, I don't think so. and I was like, things. What the fuck do you know, man? This is it. We're gonna get back together. This is gonna be great. And he didn't say another fucking word, but it nagged at me. And she called me up. She goes, I want to talk to you. And we sat and talked. And she goes, so I guess I'm getting married. God damn it! I was fucking dead, and nobody. And I had to. At first, I was.
Tried to tell you.
That's it. I was angry with him at first, but then I realized this was the only guy who was. He told me I was Lost Battalion, and I wasn't willing to accept it. I heard it. I heard the wind whistling from my throat, and I didn't realize I was.
The irony of the Junior Dos Santos thing is he's now, if Verdun beats Kane again, Junior Dos Santos is no longer Lost Battalion because he is the biggest threat to Fabricio Verdun out there. I think he should be the odds-on favorite to beat Verdun if Verdun can beat Kane again.
Yep.
But isn't the fascinating thing, though, is the fact that you would assume that with Verdun winning, there would be some kind of talk about Junior Dos Santos, but I think that he's so far in the Lost Battalion, I think you're right, Eugene, that they're like, nope. Because he was like salivating, he was licking his chops,
you can't make your case. If you're a Lost Battalion, you can't make your case from Lost Battalion. You got no compass, you got no sextant, you got nothing, man. You're just out.
You're the dead guy and the others wandering around in the fog outside Nicole Kidman's house.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, speaking of out, I think we've accomplished what we came to accomplish.
All right.
Any last
words? That's right. You got to go do your thing, right?
Rescue his child from child care. So, this is it.
What I called kid jail.
My kid loves Kid Jail, but give us a thumbs up on YouTube if you like the video.
Yeah,
Subscribe
thumbs
to
up. There's my
MMANation.com
thumbs
on
up.
YouTube.
All right.
Subscribe to MMA Nation on iTunes. Read us on BloodyElbow.com. Follow us on, and you can also read Eugene at Aussie.com. Don't miss his sex column. If you ever wanted somebody to advise you to go to a sex club.
Which is called Sex with Eugene.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. And somehow people still read it. Anyway, so follow us on Twitter also. I'm at KidNate. Eugene is at Eugene S. Robinson, and Alexi is at Alexi Auld. Tell them how to spell your name.
ALEXEIAULD.
All right, and thanks everybody. Adios, MMA
Hey,
aficionados.
hold on. If we were back east, we'd be like, Lexi Auld. Where's that name from?
Yeah, exactly.
Auld. What is that?
Old. Yeah, I get it. Well, there was a Scotsman that shipwrecked in Jamaica back in the day. So that's how the Olds came here.
I got it. Okay. There you go.
I see. Like the Gracies, another Scottish name.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, adios, MMA aficionados. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.
All right, man.
Later.